All right, boys and girls, we're back for another round of the Body Beauty Show. And today's guest is, I have to say, probably one of my top 50, if not top 5 favorite people on the planet. Certainly top 7 favorite clients of all time. I must say out of the gate, she is a client of mine, so I am a little biased, but despite that, I still love her. She's amazing. Today's guest is Julie Elaine out in Spokane, Washington, owner of Julie Elaine. And I'm going to let her do a quick bio to start this thing off. So Julie, first of all, thanks for joining us. We are excited to have you.
Thanks for having me today, Austin. I am a skin therapist here in downtown Spokane. I've been doing facials and waxing for 22 years and just expanding my business within the last couple of years. It's really fun and I love it.
Well, Spokane loves you, and we do the same. So let's get started with your backstory, because you have a bit of an interesting one from what I can glean, having spoke to you in the past and looking at your bio and your website, etc. So tell us a bit about how you went from the cool, zen, tranquil, pasture-laden life of living out in the country to the cosmopolitan that you are today, running this skincare business. How did that origin story unfold? Maybe tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so it's true. I grew up on a dairy farm about 45 minutes north of Spokane, and my dad and my uncle were both veterinarians, and of course wanted someone to follow in their footsteps, and it wasn't me. So from their perspective, I moved to the big city, which is Spokane. And gosh, how I got to where I am, I was 21 and I went to beauty school. And the reason I went is because I had acne and I thought, well, maybe I could help myself. And here we are all these years later, and it's not even a little bit about me. It's all about the clients. And so getting from the country to the big city, I don't really know how that happened.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Well, how did you get started? And so you, if I'm gathering what you've said correctly, you looked in the mirror one day and you had this epiphany moment. I have this issue of acne. I've got to fix it. So I'm going to solve my own problem. And then through that percolation and ideation, you realized, well, okay, there's a massive amount of people on the planet that have the same issue. Maybe I can help them too. So your entrepreneurial spirit seems like it stemmed really from solving your own problem. So maybe tell us a bit about how you actually got started with the initial vector, let's say. So the services that you offered, how you got out of the jowls of escape velocity as you were getting the ball rolling. How did that look? How did you do that?
So I actually went to beauty school, and then I worked at a salon and spa for a couple of years. And from there, I knew I loved doing what I did. I just didn't like being in a salon spa environment. And so at that point, I thought, I am either going to find something really cool or I'm going to get out of here. And that's when I found the space that I'm in now. And I've been here for 19 years. It's an old warehouse. It's got a lot of character. The concrete floors, the high ceilings, from the outside, it looks like just, it doesn't look like a whole lot, but you walk in and the space is amazing. So I guess being at that salon and spa made me realize what I wanted to create for people, and this is it. I want a space that is calming, relaxing. It's clean and beautiful.
Yeah. And extremely minimalistic and industrial in feel, which I think is a very stark contrast to a lot of the, at least the spas that I've been into, where you have waterfalls and statues and this sort of, I don't want to call it highbrowness, but there's something to that minimalism that I think attracts people. So if I had to guess, I don't know if you've thought about this, but maybe you have. Was that intentional? Was that some sort of, I wanted to target a certain type of person, and my guess is that they would prefer this environment? I mean, was that a part of the decision-making process in the architecting of your environment inside of the spa?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted it to be attractive to anyone, men and women. I wanted a space that even a man could walk into and feel comfortable. It's pretty intimate, the setting and space. And so it's kind of, for me, I call it my cave. I come to my cave and I do my thing and welcome people in, and without trying to sound too cheesy, it's like a safe place for people to go.
Hmm. Yeah, because I think a lot of spa owners in particular, they try to be everything to everyone. And as a result, they're no one to everyone. And so it seems like this selection, this intentionality of the minimalist feel that you have in the space was by design. And I suspect, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong here, that intentionality oozes out in other ways as well. And that probably makes people love you and boost their loyalty to you and their unwillingness to go elsewhere. So maybe talk to us a bit about how and this is maybe a bit distal in terms of the question, but what have you done to ensure that your customers are extremely loyal to you and walk away saying, I'm never going to go anywhere else. It's Julie for me for life? Because I think this environment bit with the space that you're in has a part of that mix, let's say. So what does that tincture look like?
Yeah, I think you're right. I only bring things in here that I love. And if I don't, it's not here. So I can stand behind, and I'm not good at selling things. So I have to have things that I know that I will use again and again and again, and know that they're going to be happy with it, the product or service or whatever it is also. And if the shelves are empty, it's because I don't have anything that I am head over heels for. So I just look to have that that feel to it.
Yeah. The sense I get from you, having known you now for, God, I think it's been over a year, is that you just bleed authenticity. And again, I know I keep coming back to the space that you're in, but part of my suspicion is, well, twofold. And it's really predicated on this one belief that your customers love you to death and will never leave you. That's my presupposition for this entire bit. But the second is that you're very intentional about being authentic at whatever cost, and you don't care. So I'm going to have a minimalistic space. If you don't like it, there's the door. I'm going to be me. If you don't like it, there's the door. And I think through being radically authentic, and maybe this is a implication or implication, is that a word? Someone English me. Dictionary.com, where are you? That may not be a word, but I think there's almost this toxic curse, let's say, that I've noticed in the spa community of, and maybe this is an unfair characterization, but of inauthenticity. And I think people are trying to be everyone to everyone. And again, they're nobody to everyone as a result of that. So this is mostly me commending you for being authentic and and suspecting that your customers love you for that. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, they are very loyal. And when you said, I have a feeling your clients love you, it goes both ways. And if they love the thing that I do and appreciate the thing that I do, that makes it all that much better for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned a bit about the shelves being barren, which implies that you probably have a fairly stringent vetting process for new products, for new devices, new skincare items, let's say, et cetera. What does that look like? How do you go about vetting different new modalities, products, et cetera?
Yeah, I guess I'm just always looking. And this sounds silly, but when I go to new neighborhoods or new parts of, if I travel out of town, I'm always looking to see what my eye is drawn to. And back years ago, in this space, I actually lived here, and I would buy things for myself, and people be like, "Where did you get that?" And that's when I started buying in mass quantity because everybody wanted whatever it is that I brought in. And I guess that my eye goes to luxury and beauty and comfort. Um, for example, in the back part of the studio, I have a foot lounge, and we retail body products, but also I sell pillows and blankets. Who doesn't want a pillow and a blanket?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just what my eye is drawn to, and I'm always looking.
So where do you look? Do you have trusted resources, or is there some platform or publication that you keep your eyes on?
Yeah, so for skincare products, I just spas. When I go out of town, I recently was in Texas and Utah, and they've had some great products. And as far as like gifty things, when I go to cute little neighborhoods, there's this place down in Oregon that I like to go to. It's McMinnville. They have darling downtown, and I just love walking through and picking out things that I adore. As far as picking out, I shouldn't say that things just fall in my lap, but I don't know.
Totally cool. That's okay. Hey, in fact, saying I don't know is arguably one of the most powerful statements someone can make, because it's the antidote to arrogance, stupidity, and all the rest of it, right? That's why Socrates is so famous. I know that I know not. Anyway, R.I.P. Socrates, R.I.P. Yeah, so you stumble upon things, and you probably have some remarks from your customer base saying, "Hey, how did you do this?" Or your hair looks great. What did you use today? Oh, I don't know. I just found this thing in a small village inside of McMinnville or on the coast or whatever. And then you take it from there. What about then with trend spotting? Are there publications, platforms, et cetera, that you follow to keep your ear on the track of what's happening in the world of beauty?
Oh gosh, not really. I kind of just do my own thing, and it's been like that for a long time. I go back to, what does this client need? What are their concerns, and how can I best treat this person? I don't really, I guess social media, I see what's out there, but a lot of that stuff I just skim right through. And because I've been doing this beauty thing for 20 some years, you're right. People bring ideas to me and say, "Oh my gosh, you have to check this out. What do you think?" Because they want to know what my opinion is. And yeah, so maybe it does kind of just happen.
So I'll flip the question then, because I think part of the reason why I'm asking this question is that there is a lot of fluff and bogus claims in the industry. Obviously, the space within beauty that I sit is in aesthetics and hardware and equipment for things like fat reduction, et cetera. And a lot of the times you see marketing content, let's say like cold email or something of the sort. And it's very, very clear that the claims are either inflated or just completely bogus, or they're omitting things that mislead. So I think it's helpful for people to have a source of truth or some sort of trusted advisor or publication that they turn to for actual facts and data. So maybe we'll flip the question and I'll put it to you a different way. So are there publications or resources or anything in between, websites, et cetera, review sites, I don't know, something like that, that you would say to the listener, don't turn to them? Like, you don't want to get your info from them. And that could be anything from trends, new products, anything of the sorts that you would suggest the listeners steer clear of.
Yeah. uh, that's a good question. I'm not that kind of esthetician, skin therapist. My work is based on experience. And for example, if I can say, I just got cryo skin and I was doing a facial the other day and I said, hey, we could try it and see. She said, Julie, to be honest with you, I'm pretty skeptical. And I said to her, guess what? So am I. I stand back here and I watch this and I'm amazed every time. I said, we could just try it and see. So I, again, I don't get too far out into, I think a lot of people know I'm terrible with technology. And that's the way things go nowadays. And I love being in the treatment room. I love experiencing and giving clients that experience. So as far as what to look at, what to not look at, I mean, do your research. If you're wanting to have services, a consultation would be the best place to start and see the results. Again, with my business, we bring in this new equipment. We're all having services done regularly. We want to see for ourselves, is this legit? And then we can stand behind it. And I am amazed. And not just with cryo skin, but with every treatment that I do, the facials, waxing, foot massage. I don't do the massage, but I have a massage therapist, and she works at the same time as me from time to time. And the other day, this woman came in. She was just not feeling that great, and it was obvious. And by the end of the massage, I heard her saying the nicest things. It made the biggest difference for her. And I see that stuff all the time in my treatment room. That's where I spend my time, is in the treatment room. I'm not as, I don't do as much research and know all the ingredients and all the, I can't think of the word, but I dive in and do the services and do the treatments. And if it works for me, then I don't know exactly how to say it, but I'm not the kind of like reading about all of the things. I like to get in there and do the thing. Does that make sense?
It's hard to have certainty unless you experience the thing, whatever the thing is. I think it's a common theme, is that people, because there's so much in the way of bogusness, et cetera, and fluff, you have to just get your hands on product XYZ and try it, because if you don't have certainty, of course, you can't sell that product. So of course, yeah, demos are key.
And I think for me, being here for so long, and I was one of the first in Spokane, and it's just the time that I've put in.
Yeah. Experience trumps all, right? Experience trumps all, both with new devices, listening to your customers. In fact, I think probably your best source of ideas for new things to add, et cetera, come from your people. Figure out what the heck they want and then find a way to deliver that outcome to them.
Right.
Not listening to your customer is a disaster of an idea. In fact, listening to one of Elon Musk's recent, I don't know how recent it was, but one of his interviews that I saw recently, he was railing against MBAs as being the chief, and I don't know if this is the exact characterization of what he said, but MBAs are the primary ruiner of businesses because they're attached to spreadsheets, where in reality, what they should be doing is spending time in the trenches, finding ways to make the product better. And one of the ways to make the product better, ask for feedback from your customers. What do you hate about this? What do you love about this? How can we improve it? And find ways to constantly iterate and improve your product. Now, as an esthetician, obviously, you aren't responsible for making the equipment that you use, but certainly figuring out what the customer is after. And then, there's obviously ways to provide feedback to your providers, et cetera, vendors and the like, to make improvements. Because I think the game is really about evolving and iterating and optimizing two things. I think it's number one, the customer's experience. And this is where things like considering your spa environment, and Julie's, I'm looking at it now, is extremely cool. We're in Zoom for the listeners that can't see us, but she's got an extremely cool, hip, and suave, dare I say, environment. And that's probably the product of a lot of thinking on how she can optimize the space, the intentionally minimal shelf space that's not eaten up by gobs and gobs of product. And then, the experience of the customer actually in the spa as well, and how she interfaces with them. And then, of course, optimizing the product as well. So I think listeners would be behooved to take time to reflect on how they can optimize, again, those two things: the experience in the space, and then number two, the products that are offered. However, you can provide feedback to your providers of said products. So anywho, let's change gears here a touch. I'd be curious to hear a bit about how you, in terms of interfacing with your customers, how do you deal with bad customers? And is there a point at which you fire them?
Oh yeah. It doesn't happen very often, but I have fired, and maybe it's a mutual moving on from each other. But right now, it's been a while since I've had a client like that. But for sure, we would move along. I'm not attached to anybody staying here if they don't want to be here. And that's what's happening. If they don't like my service, or, they're upset about something, go somewhere else.
Yeah. Is that a part of your consulting or screening process up front? Are there things that you look for as you're doing initial consultations, where you're sussing out, I want this as a customer, or this person as a customer, or not? Is that a part of your initial consultation process?
Yeah. Again, I've been doing this for so long. A lot of my clients have been here for 20 years. And I offer what I offer. And if someone walks in the door and says, this is what I want, then I'm willing to take a look at it. And you can tell if someone wants the service and comes in and is head over heels, then you get to stay.
Yeah. You've got to love me to stay, or bug off. There's the door. Bye. Yeah. So what do your consultations look like? Is there a science behind it? I know a lot of it's just an art, and you feel out what they actually need. Because what I found, here's some context as to what the point of the question is. Oftentimes what I find in my world is that a person will come to me and they'll say, hey, I need, or let's back up even a step further. I have a problem. My problem is this. Okay. And so they think that what they need is that, but that will make this worse. So what they really need is something completely different.
Right.
That's, in my eyes, part of the reason why we advocate for consultations, and every spa owner that's serious takes that seriously, does that. But maybe talk us through a bit about how you view consultations and maybe some pro tips on how to do it better for the listeners.
Okay, so I have a consultation form and they fill out, and there are certain things on there that I'm drawn to on every single person. And then I will take a look at it, but I'll also look at them and say, what is your main concern? And then we can go from there. My services are pretty generic. It doesn't list all the things. It just says, this is a 25-minute service. And then we can create it together to see what is the most important. Are you wanting exfoliation? Are you wanting hydration? Are you needing slimming, toning? So I have the things on paper, but what really matters is the conversation that is, what do you really want?
Yeah, I think the thing I would encourage listeners to be mindful of is, again, oftentimes somebody will think they need this, but they really need that. And the way you figure out what that is by asking further clarifying questions. Okay, so that's your primary concern. Tell me more about that, for example. And you might uncover through doing that the real issue is something that's distal or adjacent or not even related. You know, obviously there's 1,000 examples of this. One you could pluck out is you go to a physical therapist, my neck hurts. And he says, well, great. So let me see your flexion in your knee. And then he identifies that, yeah, the reason your neck hurts is because you've got a collapsed arch on your left foot. Let's fix that. And then your neck is fine. So I think that the mistake that a lot of spa, skincare professionals make, et cetera, estheticians and otherwise, is that they rush into the treatment instead of taking that time to upfront double check or measure twice before they dive into the solution. So listeners, you might have a think on that because that might better serve your customers. Yeah. So have a think on that.
Right. And that's where I offer the clients what it is that I can do to help. But if I see that it's, like you said, something else, I can offer that information as well. But I, after all these years, be real about what it is that I can do for them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other bit too, is be honest. Stop trying to win every customer over, especially those that you can't serve, because what's going to happen on the other side of that is you're going to have a seething review on Google, and it's going to take you off your 5-star mark if you have that. So protect that with your life, and consultations are the antidote to avoiding calamity with reviews. Okay, I have a few more to pepper you with because your brain is too big to possibly get through all the questions I would love to ask you in a 60-minute window here. So I'm going to rapid fire some questions that might feel a bit disjointed, but would love to hear your thoughts on these. So the first is, what is it that you think that other skincare professionals, estheticians, spa owners, et cetera, are not thinking about that should be keeping them up at night?
The needs of the client. Again, that's just me, is I'm always thinking of my client. I run it through my head before I see that client, and any little concern that I can address, I'm happy to. And just having that excitement to see the person, whoever it is.
Yeah. Be obsessed with your customers. Be obsessed with them. Don't creep on them. Don't stalk them, but figure out how to better serve them. That should be the focal point. That should be the focal point. Okay, question number 2 here. What fuel has been the single greatest driver of your growth so far to date? That could be a product that you added, decision that you made, partnership that you founded, etc.
This is going to sound so silly, but when I hired a bookkeeper, it was like the best thing ever. I thought, she must be putting money in my account. But it's that thing that I just didn't love doing. And so once she took all of that, I got to do my job. And my job is be in the treatment room. And that's what I am passionate about and where I like to be. That's the biggest thing that I can think of, is having someone else do that job that I don't want to do.
Yeah. There's a ton of things I think that spa owners try to do themselves, which just produces headache. Bookkeeping probably being the number one. Number two would probably be web creation or site creation or social media management or any bits like that. And then I think the third thing that people make the mistake of trying to do themselves is advertising and doing their Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, whatever type ads on their own, and they end up burning cash. So when did you, along those lines, when did you realize that you needed to hire somebody and outsource that headache of bookkeeping?
It's been about 10 years that I discovered, holy moly, this is amazing. And on that note, just to what you were saying, the other thing that has been huge was I have this darling influencer, and she comes in and she loves it. And it's easy. And yeah, so back to the bookkeeper, someone came into my life and said, this is what I do. I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I think I need you. And literally within a month, I was looking at my bank account going, how did this happen? Is she putting money in my account? And it's just because it freed me up from doing that job that I didn't like at all.
Yet again, being authentic to what you love, and you stop doing what you didn't love, which is a symptom of authenticity. So that's amazing.
Yeah. And with the influencer, I'm terrible with social media and technology. And for her to come in and flipping love the service and tell everybody about it, thank you.
Go hire a bookkeeper, listeners. If you're still in QuickBooks on your own, stop. It's a nightmare. Hire someone. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, well, let's continue on because there's a few more I want to get through before we jump off here. So the next question for you is, what counterintuitive advice would you give the listeners? Is there anything that you've been told maybe in your past that when you first heard it, thought, that's stupid advice. No, thanks. Nope. Don't want to do it. Not a chance. And then you did it. And my God, did it change things? Is there anything like that as you scour your memory bank?
I want to say something really great. And I guess many years ago, one of my clients told me, no expectations. And that's probably served me the best in my life.
Wow.
And on that note, I don't look at all the numbers, all the ingredients, all the facts. I go towards the experience. And so I don't have like, well, we have to do this much this month, this much that. I just want the service and the product and the experience to be quality.
So you said no expectations, right? That was the advice.
Right. Okay.
So unpack that.
Right. So for me, like I said before, my eye has always gone to luxury and the nicest, and want to be the best and have things perfect. But if I step back and have no expectations, how can you not win?
So is a different way of saying that something like absolve yourself of the outcome, or detach or decouple from the outcome so as to remain unaffected. So in other words, you I don't know, some traumatic or bad experience happens and you're not your, let's say, I don't want to say dignity, your self-worth, etc., is not attached to what happened. You're decoupled from it. So it doesn't affect you with that mindset. Is it something like that?
Exactly.
Got it. Hit it on the nose. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Well, here's the last one, and then we'll jump off. So if you had to give some pro tips, some pro advice to an aspiring esthetician, skincare professional, new spa owner, etc., and you had a few bits of advice to give them, what would they be?
Do what you enjoy. I went to beauty school and got out. I don't like doing makeup. Which is,
it's okay. You can say hate, not a big deal. You can say hate.
Well, it's funny because I actually did a job doing makeup, but it was for commercials and I traveled and it was super fun. Sometimes I was like taking makeup off people just to make it look more natural. But it's not something that I enjoy doing. And again, with that job, it wasn't about the makeup. It was about going in, having a great time because it was a commercial set. But for me, that's not my thing. So I don't do that. I don't offer it here. And I only offer the things that are important to me. And again, that I love. And just put the time in. When I started out, I was working 6 days a week. I'd have a client here, a client there. And now, all these years later, I say I'm working here, and that's when I work. And it's still more than trying to balance family and work, and it's a lot, but I really, really enjoy it.
Love it. Love it. Well, Julie, we're getting so close to being at the top of the hour, and I want to be respectful of time and all the rest of it. So let's say some closing notes here. But first, how can the listeners connect with you if they want to jump into your universe?
Oh yeah, julieelaine.com. I also Julie Elaine Spokane at Gmail. I don't know what kind of information you want me to give.
Don't spam her. Don't send her spam or I will find you. Don't spam her. Well, cool, Julie. I'm glad we could make this happen. Thanks for making the time. And yeah, on that note, we'll hang our hats and call it a day.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Austin.
Awesome, Julie. Take care.